Yeah, I just want to thank everybody, obviously, for being here today. The Alamo Bowl itself for having us. City of San Antonio has been great. We've been here 3 days. It's a phenomenal place to come. I have 4 young children with me, so God knows we've seen the sights and sounds of San Antonio, and just very grateful to be here. I'm excited for the game. So, with that, any questions? One more thing. I'm sorry. Our football operations staff has done a phenomenal job. So, Reg Calhoun, Taisha Stewart, Ms. Ty. TA, all those guys, they make the whole thing go. So we just show up for lunch, and God knows how much work has been put into it and getting to UTSA and all that stuff. So really a special shout out to those guys. They make everything roll easy. So with that, any questions?
Go front on the end, please.
Hi, Coach. Good to see you.
Hey.
You had spent so much time in the NFL before taking this job. What is the pageantry around all week been like for you to experience?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I was fortunate enough. We were in the Liberty Bowl when I was at Vanderbilt, so no airplane. The drive from Nashville to Memphis was pretty easy. But it's been a great week. Again, that's the special part about being back in college is the family environment, and so to have my kids around with the bowl practices being when the kids are out of school, they get to show up and go to practice, and that's really why you do this, right? You invest so much into these young men on the team. To show them role models that are you're around every day and the cams and people like that. It's a special thing. So it's been a great journey. It's been a great trip for us, and just excited for Saturday. Hey,
good to see you.
You too.
When you came in, you clearly wanted to mold your scheme around what you had in place, and now kind of reflecting back on it, did you check every box that you wanted to as far as how you guys played this year and the improvements that you made throughout the season, and maybe what is left to come moving forward?
Yeah, I think the unfortunate part of this profession is you're never finished. So there's always, I wish I would have done this or that moment. It's been a great ride. It's a testament to the players, to the staff. They make my life really easy. We talk about it all the time. Next year's version probably won't look like this because we'll have new players. The right, wrong, or indifferent. This is 2024 college football. People are going to come. People are going to go. So you got to have the ability to adapt. So I think that's a huge part of what we'll do is look at the guys we have, look at how we did it this year, and a lot of it will be the same, but there'll be some changes as well.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Got some new guys in at practice with the early enrollees. I'm curious how those guys look to you and if anyone specifically has stood out.
Oh, it's still too early. It's a huge head start for them. It's a great way to kind of get to know them and be around them. I think people always maybe act a little bit different on an official visit, players and coaches alike. So to see what they like, when they're tired, when they're working, both in Boulder as well as here. Really excited, for the 6 practices they get that are extra going into spring ball. Those are invaluable. So it's a great start for them, and they get to be a part of this as well. I think that's a special thing. I think too often we forget, these are 18 to 22, 23-year-old kids. This could be, the last time they go to a bowl game, heaven forbid. So to go through this, and obviously the way they do it here is phenomenal. It's top shelf. So to be a part of this is really special.
What about those practices are so valuable for those guys to have that 6 practices?
Well, I think the best way to think about it is you go from playing in the state championship game, and then 4 days later you're going versus Travis and Shador. So that's probably a little bit different in itself. You recruit kids that you hope will come in and play right away, and then they get thrown in the fire with guys that have been doing it for 3 or 4 years and in the system for this year alone. So it's a way to see them, kind of how do they learn? How do they retain knowledge? Can they make adjustments? How do they adapt when they fail? How do they adapt when they have success? So those are all things that hopefully you have a feel for. And then once the spring ball rolls out, you'll know exactly where you stand.
Hey, what's up, man? You just mentioned your NFL experience, Alamo, but clearly a very different experience postseason here as opposed to postseason in the NFL, where you go right from the regular season. How have you dealt with kind of the disjointed nature of it, take some time off, there's guys in and out? How do you feel like the team has handled it?
Yeah, I thought Coach Prime laid out a great schedule. The players kind of got to get away for a little bit. It gave us as a staff the first 2 days. Defensively, we just kind of did some self scout stuff. What have we done well? What is BYU going to see when they see us? And then welcome to transfer portal 2024, right? So you find yourself watching a lot of kids. Right, wrong, or different. That's the world we live in. So that's been key, and it's also selfishly, it's a great way to kind of see what other teams are doing. Everybody has people they respect in this profession. In college, if the all season for me starts with what Notre Dame does defensively, because I think the world of Al Golden. So it's a great way to kind of get a head start on some of that stuff. Hey, what are the schemes that maybe we can implement next year? So it's been fun. With that being said, you get to be home every night. You get to be a husband. You get to be a dad. You get to see your kids. Gymnastics lessons and things like that. The real world stuff. So we did that for 2 weeks, then we got back to it. So it's been a great process. Again, it's a testament to Coach Prime, kind of the schedule that he laid out. So the guys are fresh once it comes to game day.
Coach, we had a BYU here just before you guys.
Okay.
They shared their excitement to not only face you guys, but also the firepower that you have. When thinking about what you've seen from them so far on tape and what they've been able to do this season, what are you most looking forward to against BYU?
I think the best compliment you can give them is, you feel them every time they play. There's a real attitude with how they play. They play connected football. Obviously, they run the heck out of it. They do a great job. They're physical on all levels. The quarterback's a great athlete. And, I know talking to their head coach, it seems like we've had like 6 crossover games. So I feel like I've watched them, play a lot. And they play hard. God knows they play hard. So it'll be a great challenge. Again, it's a phenomenal venue Saturday night. Where else would you rather be?
Clearly, with your NFL experience, you have a lot of great connections, and you're going to have a crop of guys here going to the NFL who are maybe projected as mid, late, maybe undrafted guys, swingers. Coach Prime talks about how guiding players to the NFL is one of the bedrocks of one of the parts of the bedrock of this program. How involved do you intend to be on behalf of some of those guys? Maybe getting in touch with coaches, scouts, etc., things like that.
Yeah, I'll vouch for those guys to anybody. Again, they just gave us 6 months of the hardest thing they can do, and they put us in this position. We're here because of the players we have, and yeah, I'm pulling for them. I'll pick up the phone and call anybody because they've answered the bell for us. So I think obviously the more guys that have success, the more guys want to come. That's the selfish part about college football. Let's be honest with each other. If you get 4 guys drafted, then more players will come play for you. It's just the way it goes. So no, we've got some phenomenal young men that I think have bright futures on the next level.
What are the keys for guys like Monte and Shane, Shiloh and Cam, players of that ilk, to make an impression and to capitalize on these next couple of months, being a coach that has seen that, what you were looking for? What's important for those guys to handle this time of year?
Yeah, I think it starts, at least myself personally, when you're going to scout a player for the draft, the first thing you do is you watch their last game because that's the last exposure you have. And then from there, you go to an all-star game, watch the one-on-ones, do all that stuff. And then you get into the season. So as I told those guys, they still got everything out in front of them. You go out there, if you're Shiloh or if you're Cam and you have a couple interceptions and a bunch of tackles, then you got somebody's interest. And it goes from there. And then once they get their foot in the door, it's all about what you do with your opportunity. If you're playing 5 plays in the third preseason game, or if you're the PP, or if you're the L1 and you make a play, you're going to get noticed. That's the next phase of this journey is what do I do with my opportunities? And if you're undrafted, you probably don't get as many as the first round pick. That's just what it is, right? So just make the most of what you can and go from there.
Hey, Rob, I remember you said a couple weeks ago in Boulder when we talked to you about part of the appeal of this job was building something from the ground up. And obviously today you mentioned, there's going to be different personnel next year on the defensive side. But what's kind of the balance for you as a coordinator in trying to set the standard of what you expect out of your defense while also trying to reinvent yourself based off of your personnel and the guys you have year in, year out?
Yeah, to me, stats are cute and people talk about them a lot. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is points, right? So yards don't equal points for us. If we can play great situationally, so that's third down, that's red zone, and we keep the points low, then that's what we want to do. In terms of, the standard, you want to be able to feel us. That's what we've always talked about. I think we've all watched a game where the defense is flying around and you find yourself almost cringing when somebody cuts back. That's who we want to be. We want to be the hardest playing team that you can. And then, you're going to have 5 or 6 players that can impact the game. So how do you get those guys shots? Steph Curry is going to take a 3 every 4 or 5 times down the floor. It's just what it is, right? So if you got a great pass rusher, let's let them rush, right? If you got a great cover player, let's let them cover. And if they get hot, keep feeding them. I think we can make this game harder than it has to be. But it starts with the people and it starts with the personnel.
Let's go 2 more questions. 1 minute.
Hey, Coach, congratulations to you and the family.
Thanks, man. You too.
Appreciate it. You mentioned that obviously there will be new players, obviously, in the defense next season. And that secondary in particular, it'll look a lot different out. Obviously, Travis, Cam, Shiloh, and others. How confident are you kind of in the potential of, some of the young guys in that secondary, Colton, Carter, PJ, obviously some of those other guys?
Yeah, I'm super excited just to see their growth from the beginning of the year this year to where they're at now, and knowing where they can go. I know I've said it before. I think Kevin Mathis is as great a teacher as anybody I've ever been around. So I have no problem that the corners they're going to flourish. They're going to do well. If somebody doesn't mess up the safeties, then they'll do well too. So no, it's exciting. Anytime you have young players that have been a part of it, that know what it's supposed to look like, they know how Travis works. We've talked about it before. Anytime your best player is your hardest worker, that equals culture, right? So they've just seen that for a year, and then now they saw him walk away with the Heisman Trophy. So if you need to be pushed, then you probably haven't been paying attention, right? So now it's your job. We're in a relay race, and the baton has been passed to you, but it's going to be what you do from there. So it'll be an exciting spring. I'm sure we'll add some more people, and I think competition obviously brings the best out of everybody. So it'll be fun.
Question? Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.